break up neutron condition, है ना? So we can say let's start with this PPT and I'll explain to you in very simple terms. First I want to explain the terms that are required for this, you can say, for you guys to understand the basics of this principle. So first we can talk about what we are going to know about from this paper. So in this paper, the scientists and the professor have come together and performed an experiment with an underground laboratory in Pune. That is placed, you can say, 1.3 kilometers underground. So what happens is that it is going to remove most of the movements from the experiment. So what will happen is that we will get better and accurate, much more accurate reading. The readings are so much accurate that there is only 1% error, and previously there was plus minus 20% error. So let's talk about this. But we are truly getting to know about this whole paper. So in this paper we are going to truly focus on deuterium. So what happens is that deuterium is a very good flow for us to understand what you can say, how much you can say of radion was present in the initial beginning of the Big Bang nucleosynthesis. So what happens is that the deuterium will act as a flow. The deuterium can have four types of reactions. One is the formation reaction and three are the destruction reaction. Out of these four reactions, three reactions have been perfectly studied. But there are some errors in two of them. But we will mainly focus on the fourth reaction, of which we don't have much information about, which is this reaction that is written here. D plus P gives us gamma plus 3 helium. And this reaction has been studied in this experiment, and we have gotten much better results. And I will explain to you as we go along. So first let's talk about the Big Bang nucleosynthesis. So Big Bang nucleosynthesis gives us the information about how many elements or what elements are currently present after, like you can say, 0.1 seconds to 20 minutes of the Big Bang after the Big Bang happened. So the most you can say abundant element that you all know is hydrogen, then helium, then deuterium, and then as we go on. So as you can see, deuterium is present in this amount, and that is what we need for making it as a flow. And also there is one more factor that is deuterium. I will talk about it in the next slide. So let's now talk about the lambda leakage process. So I will first explain what you can say lambda means. So lambda here just simply means the constant and describes the dark matter of the dark energy or the universe, and you can say this is the in this you can say whole lambda CDM you can say method of process of majority. The primary you can say primary composition of the whole universe is composed of, like you can say, most of the dark matter, and the matter that we are seeing now, or the medium matter that we say, is like 5% of it. So you can say in the CDM of the whole dark matter, you can just simply understand it by, you can say, dark matter simply understood, something that doesn't interact with light, or doesn't, you can say, emit light. So it has nothing to do with light, and it doesn't interact with light, and that's why we don't see it in our general life. And thus you can say cold dark matter means that the dark matter that is, you can say, not moving at the speed of light, or you can say very slow. Now let's talk about, you can say, what are quasars, and I will explain it to why we are talking about this. I mean, it all makes sense. So quasars are quasi-stellar, you can say, radio sources. You can say understand these, you can say, by just reading this one, by listening to me. These are, you can say, bright sources that are present in central of Milky Galaxy, and these are so bright that you can see them, you can say, millions of years away, millions of light years away. And these are important because these help us to, you can say, get the absorption spectra of deuterium. So what happens is that the light of the quasars come past planetary nebula, and you can say gas clouds are present in the whole universe. So when they come past them, as deuterium is already present in them. What happens is that whenever something passes through, whenever these rays passes, when quasars rays passes through these nebula, some of them get absorbed and some of them get absorbed. So what happens is that we get an absorption spectra. So by looking at the absorption spectra, we can know which, you can say, elements are basically, you can say, present in that, you can say, particle, and how much deuterium is present, and we can, you can say, take out the ratio of deuterium by hydrogen. And this will be, you can say, make sense. This will make sense in a second. So why are we related to deuterium? I have already explained to you, and you can say we are going to find the d/s ratio by, you can say, by this experiment, and we are also going to find the d/s ratio by you can say code run. The code run is on code run 77 and is known as BARTSNOT. So what is code? You can say what is code that is many differential equations, and these differential equations, you can say, on solving give us how much density of helium we have, hydrogen we have, the let's talk about why I use deuterium in the first place and why I'm more experiment with them. So as I already told you, deuterium is formed, one of the first elements that are formed in the Big Bang, you can say, nucleosynthesis process. So what you can say is essential about deuterium is that it, you can say, is predominantly formed in the Big Bang nucleosynthesis and is not, you can say, usually extinguished, or extinguished means you can say it's not generally burned except for the processes of stellar evolution. So what happens is that it remains, you can say, as its primordial state. So it doesn't, you can say, get converted into something else, and we can, you can say, see, and we can, you can say, understand it, and we can, you can say, take the readings for it. And why are we, you can say, taking more readings? Because I have already told you that we have 4 reactions. So those 4 reactions are, I will write this down. The 4 reactions are, this is the primary reactions because of which the deuterium is being formed. This reaction. So this expression simply means that P plus N is gamma plus D. And this reaction is, you can say, quite studied, and we have the process of this reaction settled down. So this means that we have all the information about this reaction. So we have 3 major reactions because of which the deuterium is being, you can say, extinguished or being burned down. So these 3 reactions are D, N, Gs, D, So out of these 3 reactions, these are the formations and these are the discussions. So for understanding how much deuterium we have been left with us, we need to know both of these, because the rate of formation minus the formation minus the, you can say, destruction one would give us the how much deuterium is still being left. So this have already been settled for. This has been already been founded by pretty, you can say, marginal, you can say, error differences. But this reaction is the main problem, and this reaction is being studied in this experiment, and the whole experiment is being done for this reaction only. And that's our experimentation is being done. So what are we, you can say, how are we doing the experiment? So as I have already told you, this experiment is being done in the laboratory, and it's located 1.3 kilometers underground. So 1.3 kilometers of rock underground, and even after that, we are, you can say, using, you can say, absorbers to, you can say, reduce more and more, you can say, background particles, and also the gamma rays start, you can say, become so much down, and also and many other, you can say, background particles in the cosmic universe. So what happens is that we have, you can say, lower down the background so much that the, you can say, all the errors would be coming from, you can say, intrinsic factor only, or the manufacturing factors only, which we will learn in 5. So what we do in this experiment is that we take a proton beam that is highly energetic and shoot it at the deuterium gas to, you can say, make, you can say, convert this into, you can say, helium. So gamma rays are being emitted. So these gamma rays are very high energy gamma rays, and for, you can say, for their calibration we need another type of reaction, because we cannot calibrate this gamma ray by using the normal sources. So calibration is really required in this type of experiment, so that we, you can say, fully have the full spectrum of the, you can say, of the experiment. So we have, you can say, this formula is right here, which has been used for finding the cross-sectional area for an experiment. And cross-sectional area for the nuclear reaction simply means that how probable the reaction is. So why this probability is required? Because we can then tell how much deuterium is being burned and how much deuterium is being left. Okay. So now we can say next slide. We are talking about calibration. As I have already told, the gamma ray being emitted in this experiment is of very high energy. This cannot be calibrated simply by using any gamma source. So for calibrating this gamma ray, we have to use another kind of reaction. And this reaction is 14 nitrogen plus proton gives gamma plus oxygen 50. This is used for the Witherton calibration. For the guys who are not connected from the advanced nuclear physics background, calibration is required because we will not get the entire range of the spectrum. So if the spectrum, if we take, like for example, we take the calibration for cesium, and the spectrum is from 0 to 6, then sodium spectrum would not be, lying in the detector range. So all you can say, seeing the things and, let's say, taking the things into our hand and, getting the results, we have to, do calibration. So what are we doing to reduce the error? So as I already told, we have to reduce the error by, taking the things on the ground, and also, using different kind of observers. But there is one more problem. There is, error because of the intrinsic factors of the rods that we are facing here. I forgot to mention a point in the previous slide. We use calorimeter, copper calorimeter here to know impurity of fluorine here. So this reaction happens. This fluorine plus proton gives alpha plus gamma plus oxygen 16. So this is like you can say impurity and this you can say this is what is resulting in the errors here because we have reduced most of the errors. So for reducing this you can say error, we have to first again you can say do this experiment using a normal you can say global gas which is used here is helium gas, and we can say the readings of the helium gas, what the readings of the helium gas is coming, and we can just subtract these values from our original values and get the better results, and that's why how we are improving the expression. So let's we can say now talk about we can say astrophysical factors. You may be wondering why the gas is not doing physical combination because we have to understand all these rotations in gas. So what is astrophysical factor? S factor is determining the cross section but without the what we call it Coulomb value. And why it is done? Because in the initial stages of the Big Bang nucleosynthesis after some time, the energy of the whole you can say energy, the spectrum of the you can say nuclear reactions was low. Even though the universe was not the energy spectrum of the universe was low because of Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution, because some of the particles would have much larger energy, but because of Maxwell distribution, many of the particles would not have enough energy to undergo that, to have that kind of you can say energy for that kind of nuclear reaction. So we have to use the S factor so that this Coulomb barrier, which is you can say predominating here, should be you can say separated out, and we can clearly see how much of factor the nuclear reactions are playing in this you can say Big Bang nucleosynthesis process. So these are the formulas. This is the formula for you can say S factor, and this is the formula for theta. Then using S factor. These are the mathematical terms that we can look up. So let's say now about contribution of the lunar to S factor. So what happens is that the experiment is you can say maybe done from 30 to 200. So this you can say has been done in windows of 10. So like we do 10, 10, we do 30, then we go 40, and we can say have windows of 10. And by using windows of 10 we are given then we are to say determine the you can say what we call final story. So this best fit line will be has been obtained from the lunar data, mainly from the lunar data and also from the CMB data, that is cosmic microwave background data. So the main major point is that most of the points here were used from I can say the result come from our can say article, and those factors determine what is SC line. So then you can see the reduced T-square is coming around 1.049, and this is the part of the result because T-square is much better than we are closer to 1. So these relations are already agreed from 20 to 340, but the scientists they have put the nuclear reactions from major even higher than this like 340 or something, so to get even though result and see if there is something else here. So now the highest sensitivity of this you can say whole you can say SC to dVH ratio is at the 80 kV range. I will show you guys how they are present in this slide because that's kind of this only. So as you can see in this graph, this is the SC line that we have got after fitting it, and I will tell you can say why this is better and why it is worse. So this is the SC line that we have find astronomical S factor, and this is the center of mass energy because most of the time we talk about the center of mass energy, and this is the sensitivity with respect to energy. So as you can see the sensitivity is coming around, the most sensitive region is coming around 80. So this is the region where this is a very important region because this is the region where the peak of where what was the energy, the average energy of the Big Bang during the peak after the Big Bang nucleosynthesis process, and the universe was cooling down, and this is important. So we needed to say this part only because this part is essential. Let's not talk about but how we are getting so. But I have already told that we have a 4-on Ferrento, that is what I 4-on 477, that is Ferrento. We updated this reaction, that is the primary reaction, and also these reactions, that the other two reactions also, but these don't generally have much effect on them. We can say gave the Ferrento these values, and they give us the result about the dVH ratio, which we further plotted against various kind of results that we have previously obtained, and we saw that the results are coming higher than the previously calculated, higher than the observed value, then higher than the previously calculated value, and lower than the theoretical value. Also we did some analysis here. So we can say we did some analysis which is known as the likelihood analysis. So what is likelihood analysis? Likelihood analysis just simply means that how much of our readings are, original reading, how much of the reading that we have got here by using the Ferrento board is the observed value of T by H, median is the observed value, is the calculated value, T by H, OPS is the observed value and divided by the, you can say, corresponding error. So this is the mathematical part. And then we did some analysis, then we got that there were three neutrinos which is correct, but originally the, you can say, the value was coming out to be around 3.045, 3045, this is because the thermal background radiation and thermal. So next we did two more types of observation. So first we used deuterium plus TMB, where you can say these two values T by H and effective values were allowed to vary. So we got line load, this line load from the, and we got another deuterium plus helium analysis, and this part is very important because from here we will, you can say, get a hint about some new things. I will tell you in a second in the last slide because this is what. So you can see this data, this red particular data with the error bar is coming, let's say, about the physical values, which is not perfect, but you can say get the data. Then without this paper, this certificate. With this paper, it has come so much smoother and so much speeder. So you can see this means you can see the importance of this, you can say, paper here, right? So let's say let's talk about what is this, you can say, paper change to the history of the. So as I already told that here there is two more, you can say, observation, two more, you can say, observation, that is D plus CP, that is electron plus CP density, and D plus YP is helium per atom. So in the first one, it was expected to be about in the first one we have an expected to be around 3.045, but in the second one when we use different abundance of helium 4, we get 3.6, which is, let's say, 16 because we generally only know 3 effective number of neutrinos which is. So this thing, that is 0.6, is indicating that we have still something to, you can say, show us, and this is, you can say, indicating towards the newest which is there. So overall in this experiment we have just learned a very important factor that we have understood how can we calculate this reaction transaction, and this how it is being used with the parents of cognitive device values.
So how does S factor help in Anur Khurana. So how does S factor help in deuterium abundance? S factor कैसे हेल्प करता है deuterium की abundance predict करने?
If we don't say that we are taking the Coulomb barrier of the compounds, so this Coulomb barrier would not let us take the reading perfectly, and it's going to provide noise and stuff like that. It's not going to provide noise. It's like we are kali daal लाल लाइट ना बहुत मतलब वो बात है Coulomb barrier को हटाने तो परमिटिव देख पाएंगे कि न्यूक्लियर रिएक्शंस का क्या होगा.
Any other questions?
You only use deuterium abundance to limit the cosmological parameters. What are the limitations? The limitation will be that we cannot judge.
किसको?
जिससे हमारी एक्सपीरियंस है वो सोल्व हो जाती है.
Yes.
But we have wrote a line there that is it influences gravity. If there is no interaction, then how it is influencing gravity?
I have said that CDF doesn't interact with light.
You have wrote the line in the presentation that it influences gravity. So I wrote
just what is your question?
Sir, I asked that CDM or CD dark matter, it does not interact with any other particle, and they have got a line there that it influences gravity of the particles. So I just want to ask how they reach the conclusion of this. If it is not interacting with any other particle, so can you please explain that how it is influencing gravity among these?
तुमने लिखा है क्या वहाँ पर?
सर वो आदत से पहले वाली
स्ट्रक्चर तुमने क्या बोलना चाहते हो? For microwave radiation, it is more or less yes, that takes it dark matter. Dark energy. But it is not yet clear how it is affect the gravity and all the things. It is not yet clear. It is several mathematical, several people are giving the several explanations, but it is not yet clear how it works. So therefore, we don't have a concrete explanation for this one. That's why I'm saying that you should not write the statement but there is no concrete explanation.
But at least that part of the statement was right, because it just makes like although it doesn't interact with light, it influences gravity. We know it's dark matter because we know it influences gravity because at the last it is matter.
We have to leave it. How it is influenced?